Year 2019. It's been 3 years since the vampires rose and took over the earth. Civilization has collapsed. The streets are ruled by the undead, and only rumors of a human savior keep hope alive. Axel, an active-duty Marine, is tasked with protecting a medical facility from monsters. Inside the vampire-proof safe zone, only 3 people remain. Axel, a woman known as Doc who was infected months ago, and an unidentified woman who has been lying unconscious the entire time. One day, 3 vampire hunters break into the shelter and make their way to the room where the unknown woman lies. One of them bites her, but something goes wrong. The vampire begins to vomit blood. As he collapses, the woman suddenly wakes up and brutally kills the remaining 2. 36 hours earlier, Axel is slowly losing his mind from the isolation. His only company is Doc, who was turned into a vampire 6 months ago. She's locked up and survives on Axel's blood. He once loved her and still can't bring himself to kill her, despite what she's become. Then Axel hears an alarm. Someone is trying to break in. Armed and suited up in protective gear, he descends to investigate and finds a group of survivors. At first, he refuses to let them in. He doesn't want to risk everything, but changes his mind when he recognizes one of them. Ted, a fellow Marine who went on a recon mission 6 months earlier. Fighting off a horde of vampires, the group manages to barricade themselves inside the building. They seem safe for now, but then John begs Axel to open the door again. His wife was left behind. Desperate, John pleads, but Axel refuses to break security protocol and knocks him out with the butt of his rifle. The survivors are uneasy when they discover there's a vampire and an unconscious woman inside. They demand that Doc be killed, but Axel stands firm. He warns them that anyone who tries to hurt her will get a bullet in the head. Later, John attacks Axel, willing to sacrifice himself if it means saving his wife. Axel calms him down, reminding him not to blame himself. This is the apocalypse, and loss is the new reality. Later that night, while Axel is out patrolling the area, some of the survivors decide to kill Doc behind his back. But Mohammed and Sam step in and stop them. They trust Axel and believe in his decisions. That night, strange noises echo through the building. Axel realizes it's an attack. A wave of vampires floods the shelter, tearing through the group and turning some into monsters. The survivors are forced to kill the infected, even their own friends. 3 vampires break into the room with the unconscious woman. One bites her, but immediately collapses. She wakes and mercilessly slaughters the other 2. Axel and the others dispose of the bodies by dumping them down a hatch, then try to talk to the mysterious woman. Her name is Vanessa Van Helsing. She's been unconscious for 3 years and has no idea what's going on, or how she's still alive. The only thing on her mind is her daughter, Dylan, whose whereabouts are unknown. Some of the survivors react with hostility toward Vanessa. After all, she was bitten, yet didn't turn into a monster. Meanwhile, Axel is trying to figure out who let the vampires in, since only 3 people knew the entry code: Ted, Mohammed, and Sam. When Ted gets a moment alone with Vanessa, he offers to help her escape and promises to do everything he can to reunite her with her daughter. While showering, Axel confesses he doesn't know much about Vanessa. 3 years ago, a team of Marines, including him, was sent to protect her, but everything went sideways. Doc is the only one who might know more, but she's now a vampire and can't answer Vanessa's questions. Vanessa steals a weapon from Axel and threatens him in an attempt to escape. Ed pretends to help Axel, but secretly aids Vanessa in getting away. They gather supplies, preparing to leave the hospital, but Axel suspects Ted as the traitor. He had planted fake access codes and kept the real ones in a notebook. Ted was the only one who could have known the difference. Axel confronts Ted, and a fight breaks out. During the chaos, Vanessa takes her chance to escape and makes it to the roof, only to see the grim, apocalyptic state of the world for the first time. Ed follows her up with a single goal: capture Vanessa and deliver her to the vampires, dead or alive. As it turns out, he had been under their control all along. The vampires are aware of Vanessa's existence. Her blood poses a threat to them. That's why Ted was sent, to find her and bring her in, no matter the cost. He attacks Vanessa with a knife, managing to cut her arm, but she overpowers him and kills him with ease. Everyone is stunned to see her wound heal instantly without even a scar. Axel urges her to stay calm and not leave. He needs time to understand what's really going on. Soon after, the vampire who bit Vanessa earlier reappears. To everyone's shock, he is turned back into a human, apparently because of her blood. 2016, the eve of the apocalypse. Vanessa is an ordinary single mom just trying to make ends meet for her daughter. It's Dylan's birthday, and in a desperate attempt to get some money to buy her a cake, Vanessa donates blood at a private clinic in exchange for cash. Unbeknownst to her, a vampire sneaks into the clinic's basement, steals several blood bags, and takes a sip, only to immediately fall violently ill. When he returns to the vampire lair, Dimitri and Antonescu realize something shocking. He's reverted back into a human. They toss him to the other vampires to feed on and order one of their followers to track down the source of the blood, whoever possesses this rare, dangerous trait. Later, Vanessa tries to cheer Dylan up with a birthday outing to a local cafe. Outside, ash begins falling from the sky, which unsettles Vanessa but doesn't faze Dylan. The girl explains it's probably from the Yellowstone volcano eruption she heard about, but believes it's just a temporary event and not too dangerous. When they return home, Vanessa sees her neighbor's boyfriend beating her. Disgusted by the abuse, Vanessa steps in, punches him in the face, and warns him she'll break his neck if he ever shows up again. That evening, Dylan gets a call from her dad, not to wish her a happy birthday, but to cancel their visit again. He blames the canceled flights on the volcanic ash, but Dylan notices a woman's purse behind him and realizes he's lying. Heartbroken, she hides in the closet while Vanessa tries to talk sense into her ex. Later that night, the neighbor stops by to have a drink, but Vanessa wants to spend time alone with her daughter. She's prepared a birthday cake, but Dylan is still hiding, and Vanessa can't find her. When she hears a noise and goes to investigate, she's attacked by a vampire, sent by Dimitri and Antonescu. Vanessa fights back fiercely and wounds the creature, but he's unfazed by the injuries. He bites her savagely, tearing into her stomach and throat. As she loses consciousness, the vampire suddenly begins vomiting and flees. Dylan witnesses her mother collapse, assuming she's dead. With the morgues overcrowded, Vanessa's body is transported to a private clinic. During the examination, Doc notices something strange. Vanessa isn't entirely dead. Her blood is still active, and her wounds have completely healed, making it nearly impossible to declare her dead or understand how she survived. Doc contacts her sister, who works at the Pentagon, and reports the strange case. By the next morning, a squad of Marines arrives to retrieve the body. At the same time, the Yellowstone supervolcano erupts, wiping out half the United States. The skies of other cities are covered in ash and smog, but this is just the beginning. The ash carries an ancient virus that turns 99% of humanity into bloodthirsty monsters. Vampires begin attacking the clinic, killing or converting everyone inside. Nearly 3 years later, a small group of surviving Marines is running out of resources and ammunition. They need to reach a military outpost to restock, but Axel believes the mission is too dangerous. Ted ignores his warning and, along with 2 other soldiers, prepares for the 40-mile trek. Doc lets them out while Axel watches from the rooftop. Less than a minute later, a horde of vampires ambushes them. Terrified, Doc tries to shut the door, but one of the vampires bites her arm. Axel knows he should kill her, but his feelings for her hold him back. Doc considers amputating her arm, but it's already too late. The virus has started to spread. Knowing she's about to turn, Axel chains her up and locks her in a cage. Meanwhile, Dimitri and Antonescu are using a human scientist to find a substance that can trigger the same kind of reversal they witnessed. They're keeping the former vampire, now human, as a lab subject, but after 3 years, the experiments have failed. It becomes clear, only Vanessa's blood can trigger the transformation. The vampires declare an all-out hunt to capture her. The former vampire hunter known as Meek doesn't inspire much trust from the survivors. They doubt he's really become human and would be quick to kill him at the first chance. Axel knows Meek turned human, thanks to Vanessa's blood, but Vanessa firmly denies it. She insists she's completely normal and can't remember what happened to her 3 years ago. She believes there's a more logical explanation for everything, that it's all some kind of mistake. Axel, on the other hand, is convinced her blood cures the infected, which explains why vampires are so interested in her. Their conversation is suddenly interrupted by a scream from the street. Rushing to the roof, Axel, Vanessa, and the others see a woman tied to a tree, being tortured by vampires. It turns out she's John's wife, and she's still alive. The vampires offered a traitor for Vanessa and promised to stop torturing the captive. Vanessa is willing to surrender, but a crazed John takes her hostage. He's ready to throw her off the roof, but the vampires want Vanessa alive. Taking advantage of the moment, Axel attacks John to disarm him. When the plan fails, Axel executes John's wife to avoid a losing exchange. Vanessa is too valuable to lose. Enraged even more, John lunges at Axel and accidentally damages the clinic's backup power source. Axel warns the battery will only last 3 more hours before the ultraviolet lamps shut off and the vampires storm the building. The only way to stop this is to go to the ship and find a part needed to repair the backup generator hidden in the basement. Axel wants to go alone, but Vanessa is afraid to stay with the survivors, who are growing increasingly hostile toward her. Knowing she's no longer safe there, Axel agrees to take her along, leaving Mohammed and Sam as guards. As they descend into the basement, Axel warns it's even more dangerous down there. Vampires are divided into classes: hunters, scavengers, leaders, and other vile bloodsuckers who can attack at any second. In a sealed underground parking garage, they encounter several scavengers but manage to escape. Meanwhile, Mead and Doc start acting crazy, as if sensing something terrible. John reacts aggressively and is ready to kill them both, but Quiet Sam and the dark-skinned guy defend their lives. On the old ship, Axel ties a rope around himself. He needs to dive into a flooded compartment to find the needed part. Vanessa's job is to watch the perimeter and keep him safe from monsters underwater. As Axel goes under, Vanessa is surrounded by scavengers. She's a poor one-handed shooter but tries to pull Axel out to fight back. When Axel resurfaces, he skillfully kills one vampire. Vanessa loses her fight and gets bitten, but her blood is toxic to the vampire, killing it. Seeing she's immune to vampires, Vanessa decides to keep searching for her daughter. But Axel thinks it's a reckless idea. He promises to help and protect her, but for now, they need to return to the fortified base and figure out their next move. Later, the hospital loses power. Vampires start storming the building, and it seems like all hope is lost. Meat opens the door, not to let them in, but to stop the bloodthirsty monsters. Showing his human blood, he tells the vampires that Vanessa turned him human. If they enter, they'll become human too, which scares the vampires away. Back at the base, the vampire gang leader tells Julius that Meat has turned human. Julius was once a vampire hiding among troubled people who didn't realize what he was. After a volcanic eruption, he noticed sunlight no longer burned his skin and started hunting openly. Meat was one of the first infected but stayed human at heart. He remembers turning his wife into a monster and killing his daughter, regrets it deeply, and wants to help the humans. Axel and Vanessa return to the base and witness everything unfolding. They bring in John's wife's body so he can say goodbye. Given the reality, Vanessa accepts that her daughter is dead and that there's no hope of saving her. Mohammed urges her not to lose faith. She never saw Dylan's body, so nothing is certain. A little later, Axel asks Vanessa to turn Doc back into a human. It's dangerous, and she might not survive, but it's better than Doc remaining a monster or getting a bullet to the head. Vanessa agrees and enters the cage, but Doc refuses to bite her. Instead, Doc slaps Vanessa and runs away scared, so she bites the vampire herself. Doc loses consciousness and seems dead, but a few minutes later, she wakes up, realizing she's human again. Shortly after her transformation, Doc struggles to come to terms with what she's become. Mentally, she's overwhelmed. It's hard for her to accept that she was once a monster who drank human blood. Meat is the only one offering her support during this dark time. He understands the feeling all too well and even envies her in a way. Axel fed and cared for Doc when she was a monster, but Meat was part of a brutal gang that thrived on human pain and suffering. He regrets his past but is grateful to be human again, able to feel guilt for what he did. One night, Meat wakes up from a nightmare to discover Cynthia's body. She's tried to take her own life. The group is shaken. Some refuse to believe Cynthia could go that far, while others think she was weak and made the right choice. While examining the body, Doc notices one of Cynthia's fingers is bitten off and realizes there's more to the story. Calling Axel in, she reveals that Cynthia was strangled and had a finger bitten off before being hung. One thing is clear, the killer is among them. Axel is determined to get to the bottom of this. But then the fire alarm blares. Vanessa started a fire in a trash bin as a distraction to escape and search for her daughter. Mohammed offers to help, but he has his own motives. He's the only one familiar with the area and knows how to move silently, avoiding the vampires. Vanessa agrees to team up, and Mohammed quietly opens a door after cracking the password. Axel suspects their plan but can't stop them. He wants to follow Vanessa to bring her back but has to stay to help Doc find the killer or risk another tragedy. Vanessa and Mohammed first head to her old apartment. She finds it trashed, with bloodstains on the floor. She remembers dying there but has no clue where her daughter went. Finding a baby photo, she fights back tears, realizing she may never see her daughter again. Then Vanessa spots a mark on Mohammed's neck, a brand vampires use to mark their property. Mohammed and others were captives, forced to give blood regularly. He escaped, but his sister Shma is still a hostage. She's now spying on the vampires, searching for a way to ignite a rebellion so humans can finally win their freedom. As they leave, Vanessa notices blood trails leading out, a sign her daughter escaped. So hope remains. They decide to head to the police station but are suddenly surrounded by another group of survivors. Scavengers circle them, ready to turn them into food, but Vanessa and Mohammed fight back. After taking down a couple of vampires, Vanessa vows to do whatever it takes to protect the survivors, especially the little girl among them. Along the way, it's clear they're being hunted and won't make it back to the clinic alive. Realizing Julia sent a dozen hunters after her, specifically targeting her, Vanessa chooses to stay behind. She fights fiercely but is eventually overwhelmed and captured. Meanwhile, Mohammed succeeds in leading the survivors to a safe house. Yet even this refuge feels unsafe. One of them is a killer. Doc and Axel have questioned everyone but still haven't identified who murdered the innocent girl. A few hours later, Vanessa finds herself in Julius's grip. He wants to bite her, turn her into his prey, but he's afraid the rumors about her might actually be true. Dimitri soon learns that Julius has captured this extraordinary woman and decides to act. Worried the enemy vampire will exploit her for his own ends. To test Vanessa's powers, Julius orders someone to fight her. The volunteer is Susan, a neighbor Vanessa once saved. Now, Susan claims she killed Dylan by drinking all her blood. Enraged, Vanessa attacks, brutally beating Susan before biting her and turning her back into a human. Seizing the vampire's moment of shock, Vanessa makes her escape. She and Susan break free from the trap, but a bloodthirsty mob pursues them relentlessly. Their only chance is to take refuge in the basement, a place no vampire dares to enter. Once the women reach the basement, the others stop, genuinely unwilling to follow. Julius himself is shaken but orders several of his men to descend after them or face execution on the spot. Reluctantly, the vampires obey and chase after the fugitives, but soon one of them is dragged off by a mysterious monster lurking in the shadows. Now human, Susan confesses she lied about her daughter. The truth is, Dylan came to her after her mother was killed. Susan called the police, who took the girl in. Since then, Susan hasn't seen her friend. Meanwhile, the unknown monster begins hunting them too, so the women have to run, and fast. At the same time, Shma slips back into the vampire's lair, where a group of captives is held. Antonasia finds her hiding in the ventilation shaft but doesn't eat her. Instead, she lets Shma steal the escape plan. Her motives remain a mystery, and no one among the prisoners suspects it could be a trap or part of an even darker scheme where they're just pawns. Axel is furious that Muhammad brought strangers into the shelter. They don't have enough water, food, or medicine for so many survivors. Still, Axel can't turn them out to die. While Doc tends to a wounded man, Axel and Muhammad restrict water access, leaving only minimal drinking supplies. They need to conserve resources because supplies are tight, but the newcomers refuse to suffer, scrim, or give up their needs. Their leader, Brendan, agrees to Axel's rules but soon starts whispering with others behind his back, stirring suspicion and fear. Sam tries lip-reading a secret conversation and suspects they're planning to leave for a rumored safer shelter. Axel tries to keep communication open and discourage secrets, when suddenly Doc screams. While distracted, someone sneaked into the wounded man's room and brutally killed him, biting off his finger. They realize the killer is still among them and try to keep it quiet, but John tells the new arrivals everything. Soon, John, Brandon, and his group plot to overthrow Axel's leadership. They capture Axel, Doc, Sam, Mohammed, Nicole, and Meat, locking them in the same cage where the vampire was once held. Knowing the killer could be anyone, Brandon sends John's ally to join them. Tensions explode as the group tries to identify the real killer. Some suspect Quiet Sam, others point at Mohammed. Murders only stopped when he wasn't around. John seems shady, and Meat used to be a vampire. He might not have given up eating human flesh. He can't remember what he did in the last hour, raising even more suspicion. But no one knows the killer's identity. Brendan and his crew don't either, so they decide to throw all the original shelter residents outside, knowing it's a death sentence. Axel asks to be sent out too, but Muhammad takes the blame. As a result, Muhammad is kicked out without weapons and no chance to survive. The others, locked in the cage, realize one thing for sure: the killer is still among them. A group of people held captive by vampires prepares for their first breakout attempt ahead of a planned mass escape. Shma hands over a map, hoping it will help, but the entire plan turns out to be a trap. Shma naively believed Antonasia wouldn't betray them, but Antonasia used her trust to orchestrate a brutal massacre. Some survivors managed to get back and wanted to kill Shma for the betrayal, but the vampires stormed in and finished off the rest. Shma is the sole survivor now, with one grim mission: to track down other survivors and deliver them as food for the vampires. Meanwhile, Vanessa and Susan continue their escape through the sewer tunnels. An unknown creature is hunting them, forcing the last vampire to back off and surrender. But soon the creature finds the women and attacks. It bites Vanessa, but instead of turning back into a human, it keeps tearing into her. Struggling to survive, Vanessa manages to kill the creature, more dangerous than any vampire, but she's badly wounded and bleeding out. Susan stays calm and by her side, comforting her until she stabilizes. Once Vanessa regains consciousness, they head to the clinic, sneaking and using Axel's password. At the same time, Brandon's group is settling into their new hideout. A teenage girl and a little girl decide to explore some locked doors but accidentally trigger a deadly trap. A saw blade nearly slices the child in half. Luckily, she's short enough that the blade passes just over her head. Realizing the place is full of traps and they could die foolishly, Brandon decides to interrogate Axel, but the Marine refuses to talk. These people are terrorists who took over the building and are holding them captive. The aggressive questioning gets nowhere. Axel doesn't care about the intruders. Soon, the crazed teenage girl stabs Axel in the back. Axel and the others realize their group is unstable and dangerous. Even Brendan can't control them. They're no better than beasts or vampires, but they still believe they have a right to live here. Later, Sam uses a mirror to lip-read their enemy's conversation and reports that Brandon and his team have decided to execute them all. Knowing they have to act fast, the group devises a plan to escape through the ventilation shaft. The entrance is right inside their cage. Vanessa and Susan's arrival changes everything. Brandon is forced to release Doc to provide first aid to Vanessa. Doc describes the chaos and insists Vanessa wasted her efforts saving these savages. Brendan defends their behavior, claiming there's a killer among the old shelter residents. Vanessa declares she'll remain neutral, but secretly, she's ready to help Axel and the original team. She gives Doc advice on what to do, and Doc passes the message to Axel. Meanwhile, Vanessa suggests the naive girl play hide and seek to stay out of the upcoming shootout. Nicole and Alex escape their cell, and Susan takes out 2 guards. Nicole cuts the power, and Axel uses the blackout to kill almost the entire group of newcomers. Only the little girl, the teenage girl, Brandon, and a few tough guys remain. Not wanting to repeat past mistakes, Axel makes a harsh decision to throw everyone out onto the street. Mercy and compassion have no place anymore. People take advantage of it and cause pain. The others, including Vanessa, reluctantly accept this. They're willing to keep only the little girl, but she runs off after the others. With the extras gone, the survivors tend to Vanessa. Her wounds from the creature aren't healing, and she's getting worse. After accidentally injuring her hand, Doc drinks her own blood and realizes that even though she's human now, her hunger for blood and flesh hasn't disappeared. She and Meat are still bloodsuckers, while Vanessa, Susan, Axel, Sam, John, and Nicole remain trapped.